You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Thank you for joining me here today on this Training Thursday edition of the Cabral Concept. I haven't gotten a chance to talk about exercise or training in the last couple of weeks, and that's because I wanted to bring you a few Toxic Thursdays, a few episodes where I could chat with you about the environmental or even internal toxins that all of us deal with, but most of us have no idea that are accumulating. So what I like to do is I like to bring it to you from a research-based perspective, but then also tell you, what does this mean in the real world? Like, why does this matter to you, and what can you do about it? Because honestly, it's not as scary that a lot of people make it out to be. And yes, the research is dismal, meaning like if we allow it to accumulate over 50, 60 years, yeah, things can go wrong. They really can. But here's the deal. All of it can be reversed. And that is true. And, honestly, a lot of times the media or even the PubMed studies or wherever it might be, they leave you hanging on all the negative things that can go wrong and never tell you what you can do to right the ship. And that's what I want to do is like, even if I've explained something to you that, hey, this could lead to autoimmune, this could lead to skin conditions, this could lead to migraines, this could lead to depression. Well, okay, I'm not going to leave you with, that's it. Well, there's nothing you could do about it. No, there's always an action step that you can take. And remember, one action begets the next action. As we continue to repeat those actions each and every day, well, that's when we start to see results. Because no, there's no results tomorrow. There's no results the next day. And that's really what I wanted to chat about on today's show with the Training Thursday, is that I myself, this year, I want to get back into doing some more sprint triathlons. And I want to do that very, very quickly. And we've had so much going on with work and family and all those great, all great things. Nothing's bad, all great. But a lot of times, if it's not a priority, it just doesn't get done, or it gets moved down the priority rung. And sometimes you only have time in life, space in life, whether it's mental space or actual time, to work on your first one or two or three priorities. So what we need to do is also find out ways that we can kind of play with the mind, that we can stimulate the mind in order to you to get done a few of the things that you may not want to do. And some of those are exercise, some of that's cardio, or some of that's kind of like going out for a jog if you want, or going out for a bike. And you might say to yourself, well, I get so bored when I do those things. And that, of course, is going to allow you then, or lend to, figuring out and finding every excuse in the book that you're not going to do that thing. Like, okay, well, no, I have to go pick up the kids, or I have to be home early, or I've got a meeting that's running late. And you're doing it from a subconscious level because you don't want to go out for that run. You don't want to go to do the intervals. You don't want to do the exercise. So your mind's more than happy to figure out ways out of it. What I want to do right now is make it a little bit more fun for you. I mean, it's summertime. We're getting there, at least in the United States. And I know other parts of the world as you're kind of moving into fall and other seasons. But, here's the deal. I always like to say every 6 to 12 weeks maximum. So 6 weeks is a great time to begin changing your program if you haven't already done that. But 12 weeks for sure is just to look at, okay, I need a fresh start. I need to look at how can I revamp certain areas of my life. And, sometimes you're more focused on career. Sometimes it's more relationships. Sometimes it might be body transformation. That's what I want to look at right now. A few of the things that I do, I want to share with you. I share them with private clients, and I want you to know the same. The ways that I get myself motivated to get out there and start, whether it's a swim, it's a bike, it's a run, any of those sprint triathlon type things, is to don't say, I'm just going to go out for a run, because that can be kind of boring. Like, it's not that I'm against running, but I'm not all for running. Like, there's a lot of other things I could be doing. So what I do is I use these things. I'm going to give you today a handful of what I do to make it more exciting, to make me want to get out there. And the first one that I could think about, like right off the bat, is I'm always trying to work towards a goal, okay? So let's say this. The only way that I would actually get out there and start running on a consistent basis, not just like, I think I'm going to go for a run today, because I have all my exercises and my training planned, but it doesn't always concern running. That's just not necessarily a goal of mine. So what I'll say is this, okay, in order for me to do that, I need to have a date in mind of what I'm trying to achieve, because I'm a kind of like, okay, here's the goal, here's the end date, now let me work towards it. And if you haven't heard my podcast before and what's called Smart Goal Training, check out that podcast. We'll try to link it up in the show notes. Today's episode 853, is that correct? Let me see if it's 853. It is. It's 853 today. All right. So you can go to stephencabral.com/853. But if it's not linked up there, just go to stephencabral.com/podcasts and go to goal setting. Just type that in for your keyword or SMART goal. And the SMART is just the specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, like the order and fashion that you're going to do it in. So that will teach you that. But what I look to say is, okay, my first sprint triathlon, let's say, is 10 weeks away, and I have to be able to do this many miles in this time. So what I'll say is, okay, well, I don't need to run it tomorrow, so let me break it down over 10 weeks. And then what I'll do is, okay, this week, what I want to do is I simply want to get my body moving and running for 15 minutes at a time. Okay, pretty simple, straightforward. Again, I'm just using this as an example. Now you'd say, okay, well, I can't run for 15 straight minutes. No problem. All you want to do is be out running for that period of time. You might run for 3 minutes, and then you might walk for 3 minutes. You might run for 3, walk for 3. Your goal is to be out there for 15 minutes, okay? The next week, you might shrink that to 4 minutes running, 2 minutes walking, then it might be 5 minutes running, 1 minute walking, until you're running for the entire 15 minutes to 20 minutes. After that, you can set a new goal, and your new goal is to now run for 20 minutes. So there are different ways to do this. What I'm looking at over a period of time is to say, okay, I need to be able to run for 30 straight minutes by week 10. And so what you'll do is you'll just work backwards. You might say, okay, simple. By week 9, because week 10 is the triathlon, so week 9, I'm running for 30 minutes. And week 8, you might be running for 27 minutes, right? And then 24 minutes, and then 1 minute, and keep working back all the way if you'd like. That's a fine way to do it. There are other ways to do it, which means you'll hit your running time by week 6, let's say, or week 5. And then what you'll do from there is you'll work on the speed in which you run. Again, I'm not giving a running click right now, but what I'm showing is simply progress. So now your goal is not to run the 20 minutes all at once, because that can be overwhelming. You can get really sore. You might get injured. But instead, again, you might literally work back by 3 minutes every week for the amount of time that you run, and maybe you're running twice a week. So from that goal, you're going 27 and 24 and 21, and you're going back to 18 and then 15 and 12. And that probably is it. Like, because again, a lot of people, let's say you can run for 10 minutes. A lot of people can run for 10 minutes. I'm not saying how fast you can run, but you might be able to go out for a light jog for 10 minutes, and then you'll simply increase your time each week. Simple way to do it. That's one way that I get myself motivated and excited to be able to reach a goal. The next part of that is tracking progress. With each workout, I actually write down, okay, this is how long I went for the run. And I'm using maybe one of those fancy watches like I've spoken about before, whether it's a Garmin or, a Polar or one of those that's tracking not only the time that I ran, because that's great, but I want to say, how far did I run in that same amount of time? And that's another little goal for me. So it's kind of like, because again, there's no competition, right? I'm not trying to win the sprint triathlon. I'm trying to do it because it's fun. It allows me to use the triathlon gear, which I love, which is like the wetsuit and the bike and the changing and all those different types of things. It's just fun, right? So I'll do that. But I'll also then say, okay, so last time I ran 30 minutes and I was able to run, let's just say 3.5 miles. And then this time I'm trying to run 4 miles in that 30 minutes. So again, what you're doing is you're just tracking your progress and you're making incremental progress. Everyone's trying to run or trying to beat their best, always maybe a day later. Just give yourself time. I really love the 12-week training programs. So, okay, here's your first 4 weeks of training. This is what we do at my studio in Boston. Here's your first 4 weeks. Here's your second 4 weeks. Here's your next 4 weeks. They're all different programs, but they're ultimately trying to get you to a 12-week mark, whether it's body transformation, weight loss, muscle gain, you name it. They're all great. Okay, so I'm talking about long distance running for right now, which you have to do for training for a sprint triathlon. Or again, I'm just using this example. You could use it for anything, right? Trying to be able to run just 3 miles. That might be a goal of yours. Okay, that's an easy way to do that. A 5K. Maybe you signed yourself up for a 5K race at the end of summer, right? The end of August. Great. So now, okay, you have all of June, July, and August really to get there. So you have essentially 10, 11 weeks to do that. Anybody can do that. I'm telling you right now. Or I shouldn't say anybody. Most people can do it. if your body is able to actually perform that, meaning like you have injuries, you have biomechanical issues, like, okay, understood. But you can set up different goals, right? You can set up a different goal. I'm just using this one as an example. Don't come up with excuses. Just use the philosophy of what I'm using and then transfer it to another goal. All right, so another thing I would do is say, okay, sure, like I can go out for those longer endurance-based runs, but by week 3, I want to stimulate the body in a little different way. What if I were to go for fartlek-based training? And again, you can check that out on a previous podcast. And I believe that's Fartlek. I'm not positive that's the spelling of that, but I believe it is. That's a really fun way where you'll literally look at it for the day like, okay, I'm going for a quarter-mile run, a rest, then I'm going for a half-mile rest, then I'm going to go for a 100-meter sprint, rest, then I'm going to go for a mile run, rest, and then I might finish it with like a 50-meter dash. So like that is just, it's not quite interval, but it's varying your work to rest ratios. It's really fun to do. I learned that when I was back in high school doing cross-country running. A lot of fun. But you might also just say, okay, I'm not ready for that, but I could do some interval training. All right, so that's a different change up for cardio for that day because a lot of times people get bored with cardio. Okay, well, one day what I'll do is I'll literally go down to the Harvard University. I'll go to the Harvard Coliseum and it's open and they allow people to do the stadium stair sprints. So what I'll do is I'll sprint to the top of the stairs and I'll walk across and back down. Then I'll sprint up the next and then I'll walk back down. And you might try to go around the whole stadium or you might just pick 10 of those to do. That's a fun workout where you're doing a workout at the same time and you're seeing yourself kind of move along the stadium. You see other people doing it at the same time because it's very popular to do. And again, it gets your mind in different spots. So think about it like this. Again, you might not be in Boston, you might not be training at Harvard University, but what you can do is think about, okay, where's a local track around my city that I can go to and I can do kind of sprints around the track. Like you can do half the track sprint. Or you can do, probably a full sprint would be difficult for most people around the whole track. But what if you did half the track and then walked the other half and then did half the track again and walked half the track? Or what if you found a really steep hill in your city or town location and you did a hill sprint? You sprinted all the way up it for 30 seconds to maybe 60 seconds would be really tough. And then you took your time walking back down and then you sprinted back up again. And what if you did that for like 5 to 10 times? That would be an amazing workout and something to just give the body a little different stimulus. Okay. Another one that I like to do is I just like to invite a friend out for the day. Maybe they haven't done this type of training themselves. Like, hey, come on out. Let's do the Harvard stairs. Or if you're from Boston, you say Harvard. Let's do the Harvard Coliseum stairs. And like, that'll be a lot of fun to do. And, so we'll do that. Like, that'll be a really great time. Or we'll simply take a run along the Esplanade. This is one of the most beautiful times of the year in Boston. We get essentially 6 great months. Well, this is one of those months. It starts now in June. So that might be a really fun, like, hey, we're not going to try to win a race or anything. Let's just go for a jog around the Esplanade, which is essentially this grassy area along the Charles River. We might go over one of the bridges, like the Longfellow Bridge or the Harvard Bridge, run along Storrow Drive, and then back around Memorial Drive. Again, just get out there, change your scenery, but get a friend involved. Again, like you could even run with your friend. Maybe they're not in the best shape. Just being out there, exercising, oxygenating your body just feels so good, especially being outside. You'll hear a lot of what I'm talking about right now is being outside. And that's because one of my goals now is to actually get a little bit more exercise outside. Yes, I still go to the gym 2-3 days a week, but then I do a couple other workouts twice a week outside. And my goal is to breathe in some of that fresh air. Now, we have a lot of pollen right now, but I'm happy to say that after a couple decades of having allergies, like severe allergies, I was able to get rid of those, obviously, through natural-based methodologies. And I've talked about that on previous podcasts. So now, I'm running through the pollen. I'm just like, I'm also expressing gratitude. Like, how great is it now that I can actually finally be outside without having to insulate myself from this, this beautiful time of year? So again, for me, it's about just saying, how lucky am I to be in Boston? How lucky am I to be able to run outside, not have allergies? How enjoyable is it that I'm now injury-free because I actually tore my Achilles tendon in my senior year of high school. Before I even got sick, it was a really tough fall. And that was one of the starts of it as well. I think that was actually very depressing for me, which kind of led to one of my spirals as well. There's many of them. But now, again, like I can run and that Achilles is there, but I'm okay. Like everything is good. So that's another one of my favorite ones. A couple other things. We're just going to give you 2 more today. I'm not going to make this a long episode because what I would love you to do is just choose one of these. So I'm trying to give you different examples. People I find, being in the fitness industry, being in the health industry for quite some time, different cues work for different people. So if you're a goal-oriented person, you'll do great with kind of looking at a goal 8 weeks from now, 10 weeks from now, 12 weeks from now, and then working backwards from that. If you're a person who loves data, well, you'll love tracking your progress, right? If you're someone that just needs to always switch it up, well, you have stair sprints, you have hill sprints, you have intervals, you have longer distance days, you have fartlek training. All of those great things are amazing. And hanging out, obviously, with a friend never hurts to do that once a week or so if you want. So a couple other things that I like to do as well is I like to say, okay, if I get in my, just insert a number, 4 workouts per week, all right? Let's just say I get in my Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday workouts. So the reason I never work out on Wednesdays, it's my long wellness client consult day. So I'm in the office early, like before 7 a.m., and I'm working essentially till about 6 o'clock, maybe a little later on those days. And I just break for lunch, and that's it. And I see people the entire day. So that's my long day. I love it. It's great, but there's no room for anything else on those days. So what I'm saying is, okay, by the end of the week, if I get all of those things in, I'm going to reward myself with whatever. And I'm like, these aren't like big rewards, but it works for a lot of people. So for me, I might say, okay, well, if you're training for a sprint triathlon and you really have a goal in mind and you signed up for it, you paid for that race number. Okay, then what you're going to do is you give yourself kind of like a self-care day. And on, let's say, Friday afternoons, you finish your training, you're going to go do a sauna, which I love to do. You might do a float tank or something like that, and then you're going to go get a massage, right? So you're going to do like 2 hours of self-care. And that would be like, okay, that's my reward, right? And I might not do that every week, but I might say once a month, I'm going to do that. Or every other week, I'm going to do that to help my body rejuvenate and repair, like all of those great things. So don't be afraid to give yourself a reward. When I was training for my first sprint triathlon, I said, okay, if you're still training for it after 6 weeks, then you can go buy the wetsuit, right? You can go buy the fancier bike, all of those things. And it's, again, is it a reward? Sure, it absolutely is, because you've earned it. You said after 6 weeks, if you still stick with this, great, then buy it because you're going to use it. But if not, don't waste your money. Just get on a bike in the gym, right? See if you're going to actually do it. Swim in the pool at the gym or in a lake or whatever. But then once it's time for race day, you want to improve your performance, then you'll get the wetsuit. You can tell I'm a gadget type of guy. Like, I spend my money not on a lot of things that other people love, but I spend it on food. I spend it on nutritional supplements. I spend it on like activity-based things, whether it's indoor rock climbing, whatever it might be. That's what I enjoy. Like that, to me, those are my rewards. But for you, it might be clothing. It might be a night out. It might be whatever. But, so obviously you do what you feel is kind of like a benefit to you. And my last one, this is something that I just kind of started to get into because I'm not a huge music person. Now, I know a lot of other people are, and they don't get it when I'm not a big music person. Like, how are you not a big music person? And I've just never, yes, I listen to music and I enjoy it and all of those things. But for me, it's like a lot of people like, oh, what's the latest album? What's the latest? That to me is like never registers. Like if I listen to music, fine. If I don't, that's okay too. But I love reading books, and now I'm more into, which I haven't been as into, I'm even listening to some books on tape. I never thought I would be into that. I just never thought I would because I love reading books so much. But I'll go out now for a run, or I'll do some cardio maybe at the gym, and it's a time for me to do 30 minutes of listening to a book on tape. And of course, knowing my personality, I listen to it at 1.5 speed. And so I'm listening to that, and now I'm getting knowledge, which is I'm a seeker of knowledge. I'm a student of life. And so what I'm doing is essentially now absorbing more knowledge, and I'm doing cardio at the same time. So I love it. And yes, if I'm running outside, sometimes I do actually create like a fun playlist, and I ask for their advice. Like, hey, what music? Like, what do you recommend? What should I listen to? And so they'll give me ideas, and then I'll literally make a playlist out of it. And so I have a run playlist right now. And that run playlist will literally be 30 minutes long because my runs will probably be somewhere around 30 minutes or so. And so then what I look at is I'm moving through the playlist, and I'm like, oh, I'm already through this many songs, or I'm looking at that and I'm getting towards the end, and like, oh, I can't wait till that song comes on. So it's kind of fun, and I might create a bunch of different playlists, and then I get to curate it, or other people actually curate it for me because I'm taking their advice, and then I get to listen to all the music that I might be missing out on because I'm not an aficionado of great music, right? It's not a talent of mine. I don't have a lot of musical talent. I don't have any musical talent. So, when other people recommend that to me, I can start to look at different genres of music and what's popular and all of those things. So that's actually a lot of fun. So I've gotten into both of those things. More books on tape. I always listen to podcasts. I do that. But for me, like I can listen to podcasts anytime. Like I can be on my walk, I can be in the morning. Like, so I love that. But for me, it's like, okay, you get 30 minutes of listening to a book on tape, or you get 30 minutes of listening to new types of music. It's a lot of fun. You can actually just look online, like for people's playlists now on Spotify and other channels, and you can see what they've made, and you can kind of download theirs. And actually, it's a lot of fun. It really is. And I never thought I'd be getting into that. So what it is now I'm making training fun. So I have different days of the week. I have longer days. I have intervals. I have changing my location by doing hill sprints at Beacon Hill in Boston, or I have the Harvard Coliseum doing the stairs. I'll invite a friend out like, hey, let's go do this. Let's just run sprints along Comm Ave in Boston. And then, of course, I'm doing the more self-care because I need it. I'm training harder, so I get more massage. And I do things to relax the body like a float tank, which I'm starting to get into more. And of course, I've been doing sauna forever. I love sauna. So sauna is one of my favorite. And I'll do that a lot more since I go to Maine more and I have a sauna there. And so that's one of my favorite things to do. And now I'm getting more into like, not only is it time to go do cardio, which I might not be like as much of a fan of that day, but I'm a fan of listening to this book that I need to finish, right? Or listening to this new music. And so sometimes I'll go just do it for that. And maybe I'll even go for an extra 10 minutes because I'm so into the book or so into the music. And these are all things, again, that you can use yourself. So what I want you to do is I want you to be able to revitalize yourself. I want you to revitalize the energy and excitement about being out there and exercising. I use running as an example today because I need to get myself to run, right? Like I thought like it's not a chore, but it's not my favorite thing to do. It's not first on my list, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm getting all of those different things to motivate me to go out to do it because I know that I want to do it to achieve a goal. I know that I should do it because it's great for my body, not in excess, but a couple days a week to oxygenate this body of mine. And to also what it does is it really puts me in that parasympathetic. Because again, I'm not trying to win a race. I'm just trying to breathe. I actually do. I'll teach that on another episode, so stay tuned for that. But the way that I breathe when I run actually helps calm the vagus nerves, helps calm all those parasympathetic nerves that run off my spinal column. And what I'm doing is I'm actually focused on breathing. I'm trying to literally hyper-oxygenate my body, which for me being more of that vata pitta, like in terms of like how my body moves and my mindset, all of those things and the acids that I might build up my body because of, I'll go to the future. That's a whole different podcast I almost just went down the road on. But what I wanted to share with you was that there are different ways that different people find their interest. I tried to give you about 8 ways today. I hope it was helpful. If it was, please do feel free to share it with anyone else, of course, that it may serve. And better yet, get them to do it along with you. That's always more fun. So hopefully today's episode was helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Cabral Concept. It's so good to have you each and every day. I do hope you'll tune in tomorrow as well. We've got a great Friday review where I'm bringing you the best of the week. So take care. I'll talk with you tomorrow. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stephencabral.com/courses.